The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
I think you'll all agree that it's a good day to sit in and listen to the radio. I mean, if you're going to go out, whoa. I mean, get ready for a soaking. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday we're here 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And of course, I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And we got a few things to talk about today, as we always do. We are welcoming, first time in a long time, at 11 o'clock this morning, Atlantic City Mayor Marty Small will be here on the show, and we're going to talk to him about a variety of things that are affecting Atlantic City. So we'll look forward to that. We are really looking forward to that. Marty Small coming up at 11 o'clock this morning here on Talk with a Purpose on WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. And in between time, we'll be talking, you and I, about a variety of things. All of it, it seems like, all of it on the negative side of Biden. But so what else is new? 609-407-1450 is our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. And, of course, Seth Grossman will be along in a couple of minutes, and we'll find out about the pilot program and how they made out in their lawsuit. So a lot to talk about today here on the show. But in case you forgot, and I didn't, and I'm sure many of you did not, but in case you forgot, another reason, another major flaw in the Biden administration we're going to talk about. This week on Washington, the two top generals who oversaw the evacuation of Afghanistan as it fell to the Taliban in August, this was August 2021, they blamed the Biden administration for the chaotic departure. Geez, that's a real shock, isn't it? Blaming the Biden administration? And wait till you see what the Biden administration does. But that's coming up. They told lawmakers on Tuesday on Capitol Hill that the Biden administration inadequately planned for the evacuation and did not order it in time. You think? This was according to retired General Mark Milley, who was the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and retired General Kenneth McKenzie, former head of the U.S. Central Command. Now, they both spoke before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. The rare testimony by the two retired generals publicly exposed for the first time the strain and differences the military leaders had with the Biden administration in the final days of the war. So there was friction. There was, let's face it, they weren't all on the same page. Two of those key differences included that the military had advised the U.S. keep at least 2,500 service members in Afghanistan. On the other hand, an internal White House review of the administration's decisions found that President Biden's decisions had been severely constrained by previous withdrawal agreements. Here we go again. He blames he blames the Trump administration. He blames Trump and the administration, that administration. He blamed them, saying top commanders had said they had enough resources to handle the evacuation. Biden blaming someone else? Oh, that's I've never heard of that before. So in this case, several factions of government. Shocking. The chaos was a result of the State Department failing to call for the evacuation of U.S. personnel until it was too late. Again, Biden a day late and $1 short. seems to be a common theme in the Biden administration. Here is a quote from Mark Milley. The fundamental mistake, the fundamental flaw was the timing of the State Department. That was too slow and too late. And that's according again to Mark Milley. So Biden, rather than calling for a smaller force of us, rather than attempting to use the recommended 2,500 troops, he called for a smaller force of 650. That's a big difference. That would be limited to securing the U.S. Embassy, which it didn't, and it fell to the Taliban, and the rest is history. So once again, we say Joe Biden was at fault. And then he says, well, it really was Trump's fault. Now, I don't know about you, but in 2021, Biden was president, wasn't he? Trump was not. And Biden could have made the recommendations according to the generals. He could have done that, but he didn't. So you blame Trump? Of course you blame Trump. Because on that side of the fence, you blame Trump for everything. You blame Trump for the rain today. Trump's fault that it's raining today. You follow? It's unbelievable how they did this. And one of the biggest mistakes in the Biden administration, to me, well, there's a lot of big mistakes, but one of the biggest mistakes was the handling of Afghanistan. Now, they got a lot of the people out, but they left millions and millions of dollars of equipment, just left it there. And you can't really have a rationale for that, except that he's Joe Biden, and he does what he thinks he should do. But sending 650 troops when they recommend 2,500, that's 1/4 of the force, and then you lose that particular battle to the Taliban. And today, Afghanistan is still ruled by the Taliban. And what can we say? Do you need me to say more? You know what that does. It just, we could make a list of all the things that Biden has done, and he's still out there touting that, I've controlled inflation, and the economy is booming, and jobs are great, and maybe the jobs are great. And maybe the economy is booming, but we still have inflation, and it's still affecting us. And it still costs you $1,000 more today than it did 3 years ago to buy the same goods. And that is significant. And that's why we've got to get rid of Biden. That's plain and simple. Plain and simple. 609-407-1450 is our number here in the studio. It's Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We bring in the one and only Seth Grossman, and I know he has a lot to talk about today, especially the pilot plan. How'd you make out, Seth?
We did good, but first on the problem with America in losing wars, we were actually discussing this last week about why America has not won a war since 1945. And it's a deeper problem than just Biden and Trump. The whole culture of our military has been to reward mediocrity and to punish anyone who wants to achieve the mission. And so it's not just that we bungled the evacuation from Afghanistan a year or two ago, but the fact that there were no hearings held at the time. Nobody was held accountable. Nobody was fired. Nobody had their career ruined. Everybody got their pensions and promotions. And we lost 2 wars in Iraq. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. We never captured Osama bin Laden until 10 years later when it really didn't matter. We let all the top leaders escape even though we had them surrounded. Again, we lost Vietnam. We lost 2 wars in Iraq. So why is that? There's a very good author, a military historian called Thomas E. Ricks, R-I-C-K-S. And he wrote a book called The Generals, but he also did a very good video presentation that's on YouTube called Why America Was More Successful in World War II. It's linked. It's posted on our libertyandprosperity.com website. But if anyone wants to get it, it's probably one of the best hours you could spend to watch that presentation, and it becomes crystal clear how our military has disintegrated at the top. I mean, we have the bravest, best trained soldiers following orders, but the people giving those orders really are not leaders, and there's a reason for that. So we have that going on. We have the big problem with inflation. And it's interesting because what is causing inflation? Well, obviously, if the government is spending $1 trillion more than it's taking in, and it's just printing up fake dollars to pay people, that doesn't represent any value, that nothing was produced for it, that's going to cause inflation. If you have the government require every corporation in America to spend, enormous amounts of money to hire people for diversity, equity, and inclusion and follow all these regulations that produce nothing, that's going to make everything more expensive. And if you stop producing oil or nuclear power and make us use those wind turbines and solar panels, which really just don't work, you're going to make energy more expensive. So it's those 3 things make everything more expensive. But if you listen to the news or watch TV, they'll make it sound like whether the Federal Reserve puts interest rate here or interest rate there, like that's going to make a difference. And it doesn't make a difference. That's just playing, like rearranging the deck chairs in a Titanic. The real problem is printing worthless money, forcing businesses to spend more money on political things and production things, and of course making energy too expensive. So all this stuff is posted at libertyandprosperity.com.
Well, now I can ask you the question. How'd you make out with the pilot?
Well, surprisingly well. I went up to Trenton Wednesday to argue the pilot program, and of course that means a special pilot it means payment in lieu of taxes, where the casinos pay a lower rate instead of regular real estate taxes for schools, for local government, for county government, and everybody else pays more. And so I had low expectations because the appeals court did not collect the taxes from the casinos right away. It put a stay on it until the argument was heard, and it took them a year and a half to finally hear the argument last Wednesday. However, based on the questions that all 3 judges were asking, they really put the state's attorney on the hot seat and were very, very sympathetic to my arguments for libertyandprosperity.com. So I bet we have a 50-50 chance of winning this thing, something I would not have told you last week.
When are they going to make a decision?
Probably in about 4 to 6 weeks, but again, it took them a year to hear the argument.
Yeah.
So I don't know if time is on the essence over there, but let me just give some of the background because it was like a walk down memory lane doing those arguments. So of course the casinos get a tax break. Everybody else in Atlantic County is forced to pay more. So how did taxes get so high that even the casinos couldn't afford to pay them? And that goes right back to our dear friend, former Republican Governor Chris Christie, because when Atlantic City hit hard times in 2010, and when you had the competition from the table games in Philadelphia, you had the housing bubble collapse, the Wall Street crisis. So the economy was lousy, and Atlantic City lost 2/3 of its business and 2/3 of its tax revenue. And Atlantic City couldn't make payroll in 2010 for its city government. And so Governor Christie had the state take over Atlantic City in October of 2010. And in a normal world, Christie would say, okay, Atlantic City, you lost 2/3 of your tax income. It's illegal for cities to run at a deficit. There's a balanced budget law, and so you're going to have to cut your spending to match what you're not collecting in taxes. But when Christie came in 2010 and took over, instead of complying with the law, instead of forcing the Atlantic City government to spend less money, he did just the opposite. He increased the local spending from $206 million a year to $262 million a year. And what he did is he completely violated local budget law, something that at one time people were put in prison for. And so Atlantic City ran 7 years running deficits, illegal deficits for operating expenses of about $50 or $60 million a year. So at the end of by 2017, Atlantic City was $400 million in debt for a city of 42,000 people. So even the casinos couldn't pay the taxes. So why did Christie do that? And the answer is obvious, because for 7 years, Christie was running for president. And the guy he was running against at the time was a Republican governor in Wisconsin called Scott Walker, who was being attacked by the Democrats and the labor unions for cutting spending, balancing the budget, and protecting taxpayers. So Christie wanted to say, hey, I could get along with unions. I could get along with Democrats. And to do that, he put Atlantic City $400 million in debt. So now that we're in debt, when he stops running for president in 2016, then he finally cuts the spending of Atlantic City. But then he has this mess he has to clean up. So he made a 10-year plan, which was actually pretty good. He said, we're going to tax the casinos according to their income. And by the way, it was unfair to tax casinos at their construction costs, because as you may recall, the casinos spent far more on this fast-track construction to get open real quick. So the casinos complained, tax us on our income, not our, what it cost us to build these buildings. And the state went along, and actually when the casinos started doing that, the casino industry recovered. You had the online gambling, you had the sports betting gambling, and we were actually on the way to fixing the problem until 2 years ago, when the casinos got greedy and they said, we don't want to be have the income from online gaming and sports betting count in valuing our property anymore. So they got a big decrease. Everybody else got a big increase. And that goes against the New Jersey Constitution, which says everybody has to be taxed at the same rate. So it was interesting, the argument, the judges pointed out that there's no reason not to include online gambling or sports betting, because the only people who are allowed to go in that business are businesses that have licensed casinos in Atlantic City. So the judges repeatedly pointed out to the Attorney General, what's the difference between people, gambling in an Atlantic City casino or people betting online if the server has to physically be located in a casino in Atlantic City? So I think we have a 50-50 chance of winning this thing.
Well, that sounds good. It really does. Your argument is really well said. I think you're going to win. I do.
So I left Trenton feeling good, and I felt like, of course, we weren't doing this to defend, who pays more or who pays less in taxes. Liberty and Prosperity is a liberty group, and we believe in the New Jersey State Constitution, which was basically passed in 1844. And by the way, one of the framers of that Constitution was the same Jonathan Pitney who built the railroad that created Atlantic City. And the reason they put this new Constitution is New Jersey had a problem with debt and out-of-control corruption. So to fix that problem, they made a new Constitution that, number one, said it would be difficult for politicians to borrow money because they would have to get a vote of the people to borrow any money. And number two, that all laws and taxes that the state government would pass would have to apply equally to everybody. And it was a very common sense approach, because they said, look, we're not going to stop politicians from being corrupt, but if we could stop politicians from giving special deals to special people that they like and using special laws to punish people they don't like, that's a good way to keep the government honest and limit corruption. And for 100 years, we had a good government in New Jersey, and we really were a state of liberty and prosperity. And all that stuff started to unravel in the 1960s when the progressives said, let's give a special deal to the veterans, let's give a special deal to the senior citizens, let's give a special deal to the farmers, let's give a special deal to people who want to redevelop real estate. And so to get this special treatment for the casinos, you know what the legal technicality that the state used?
What's that?
They declared that the casinos were blighted areas in need of redevelopment. So they made a whole joke of our Constitution, and that's something else I had to deal with.
A blighted area. Where is that?
Yeah. You look at the Water Club, you look at the Tropicana.
Sure.
But anyway, so there I was felt feeling really good about defending the Constitution. That was on Wednesday, and then what happens on Thursday? On Thursday, of course, the headlines are everybody is praising Atlantic City Mayor Marty Small and Governor Phil Murphy for saving the air show in Atlantic City. And it's really ironic because the whole idea of liberty and prosperity, the whole idea of Constitution, is where government treats everybody equally, everybody follows the same rules, and whether you succeed or fail depends on whether you make good choices or bad choices. And if you want the government to pay for something, you raise your taxes to pay for it, and everybody shares equally. So what's the story of the air show? Well, the air show, of course, is Mayor Marty Small saying, I'm a great mayor because I depend on, quote, personal relationships. And so I'm a good friend of the governor, and the governor is a good friend of me. And I said we need $300,000 for this air show. So the governor picks up the phone, and we don't know, is he going to call the Economic Development Authority, or is he going to call the South Jersey Transportation Authority? Oh, he calls the South Jersey Transportation Authority. They have an extra $300,000. Now we're going to have an air show, and everybody starts clapping. So how many things are wrong with this picture? Remember last week I complained that it almost cost me as much to park at the South Jersey Transportation parking lot as it did to fly back and forth 1,000 miles to West Palm Beach.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's because it cost me $96 for 8 days. Now, a year and a half ago, it would have cost me $64 because it was $8 a day for parking.
Yeah.
So during the past year and a half, the South Jersey Transportation Authority that runs the Atlantic City Airport raised all the tolls on the expressway. They raised the parking fees from $8 to $12 a day. And why? Well, now we know why. Because it's not because they're making improvements in the airport. It's not because they're doing anything other than creating a slush fund so that whenever the governor needs extra cash, they could write a check and give it to him. And I'm really wondering, I'll probably get lynched when I go into my meeting that starts at 9:30 and 10:30 and say, okay, we did such a great job on knocking out the tax breaks for the casinos. Why don't we challenge whether it was illegal, to have the South Jersey Transportation Authority, which has no money in its budget for an air show, to suddenly, say we're just going to give $300,000 of cash for the air show. Somehow I don't know if I'll get a good reception there, but it's something worth talking about.
Well, we're going to have Marty Small on at 11 o'clock, so if you'd like to call in, feel free to do so.
Ironically, I'm not going to be calling in because another little event, Ralph Hunter, the head of the Atlantic City African American Cultural Museum, invited me. He's having a presentation at noon at their museum, which is right across from Angelo's restaurant in Atlantic City. It's called the Noise Garage, and we're going to be talking about Black history. And I'm going to be handing out the calendars and that Liberty and Prosperity made and talking about Black history. And I'm also going to be talking about something I never talked about before. And which raises a very interesting historical issue. When I was on city council in 1987, Benjamin Hooks, the head of the NAACP at the time, came to Atlantic City and wanted to set up a special event to mark the 20th anniversary of the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King. And he wanted to have an event in Atlantic City. So he had all the city councilmen there, and the mayor was there, and we're all talking about where to have it. And Benjamin Hooks, a real true civil rights leader, so he said, well, it's easy. Let's have it at a place in Atlantic City that's named after Martin Luther King. And then everybody was shuffling around embarrassed and had to admit that 20 years after Martin Luther King's death, there was not a single building, street, or park or anything named or dedicated after Martin Luther King. And Benjamin Hooks went absolutely nuts, and I can't even tell you the language he used on everybody. But within a month, we did rename Illinois Avenue Martin Luther King Boulevard, and we did name the West Side Complex after Martin Luther King. But the reason why there was no memorial to Martin Luther King raises some very interesting issues, which I'm going to be discussing at that event at noon today at that African American History Museum.
What are some of the issues? Can you briefly tell us?
Well, the fact is that really the black community in Atlantic City was so advanced and so self-reliant, in my opinion. I'm going to take it up with some of the historians there, that there wasn't that you didn't have the emphasis on the civil rights movement, because our Atlantic City civil rights movement had already succeeded in the 1920s. So the black community was not focused on what was going on in the 1960s. At least that's my theory. I'm going to test it. Finally, I'll have one more point about the air show. Do you know how we got the air show in the first place, and you know how much it cost?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Okay. In 1946, President Truman cut the Navy budget, and he said we didn't need to spend billions of dollars on a big Navy because the war was over, and we had the nuclear bomb, we had air power. Now, Chester Nimitz, who was the commander of the U.S. Navy, was very upset about this and wanted to overrule President Truman's decision to cut his budget. So he created the Blue Angels air circus to go around and tour the country to lobby for the big budget for the Navy. And he would go to all the all the congressmen who wanted to have an attraction for their district. And he was so successful in getting Congress to overrule Truman and give the Navy all the money they asked for that they kept doing it year by year. And then the Air Force got jealous because the Congress took the money away from the Air Force and gave it to the Navy. So that's when they formed their Thunderbirds to do the same thing. So it was all started out to lobby congressmen to get more money for the military budget. And by the way, you know how much these air shows cost?
How much?
The $300,000 only pays for the local promotion. Each air show cost about $15 to $18 million each show.
Wow!
The Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels in 2016 had a budget of $35 million to $40 million each, and I'm sure it's a lot more now because of inflation. They do 32 shows. 32 to 35 shows. So you take somewhere between, a budget like 40 or 50 or $60 million divided by 32, it's at least $10 million a show, probably closer to $20 million a show, plus the $300,000 that we're paying for. So all I could say, if anyone thinks this is a great idea, just think of that Bible story where the brother Esau sells his birthright for a bowl of soup, or where the Romans gave up their democracy so they could get free entertainment at the gladiator game. So anyway, that's we'll talk about that. And I went long, libertyandprosperity.com, meeting 9:30 to 10:30 at Sal's Cafe in Summers Point.
Okay, Seth. Thanks a lot. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity. And, of course, the website, libertyandprosperity.com. I'm John DeMasi, and it's Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll get started with your calls, John, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. Coming back with more after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
Oh, we're back. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG. Talk Radio 95.5, 609-407-1450 is the number here in the studio. We'll get started here with John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning. So a call was put into General Governor Murphy, the guy who said that our Bill of Rights is beyond his pay grade. Okay, gotcha. All these strings attached with that dude. Unbelievable, man. I looked up 3 presidents this week in Bible codes. First, I put in the Google search engine, JFK assassinated Bible codes, and it came right up. It came up under research.com, but I didn't use the address bar, and 2 tables showed up. John Kennedy executed, not assassinated, but executed. And also the other table said Kennedy, they, not he, they killed him, plural. And it was made mention of that Lee Harvey Oswald's name wasn't even mentioned on that page at all. I looked up Ronald Reagan. I saw nothing about him in the Bible codes, nothing about him or his assassination or the assassination attempt on his life. However, a lot came up with Donald Trump, a lot, and it's good and bad. 3 other names came up with, and I got that under, his name is Jonathan, but his moniker on YouTube is the Code Searcher, and each word has a capital letter, but the rest is in lowercase, the Code Searcher. And his vlog here is unveiling the eclipse, election, and the Trump Bible Code. And a lot is covered there. 3 other names are mentioned along with President Donald Trump. Yes, he will be reelected. That's good news. But Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, and they're both their names intercept each other, so they're connected to each other. And Joe Biden will not be able to finish his term. It said, the Bible code said, she'll be president for a short interim, just a couple months, which is bad news. But she will not be endorsed on November 5th, 2024, due to a weak backing of Joe Biden, a great dissatisfaction that will add to the juggernaut. He said the word juggernaut that will be causal in a landslide election for President Trump. The bad news is they're going to try everything they can to stop him from being elected, but they will fail. So they're going to resort to the worst thing. And they're going to think of everything they can think of. It says poisoning, bombing, stabbing, and they're going to finally agree on shooting. And supposedly he's going to be shot twice. And he does it all in Hebrews. This layman, he's an American Christian, but he reads Bible codes. He even said, he says, I'm an analyst of encoded data in the Bible codes. I am not a prophet. So I have been wrong before, but he says my accuracy is better than average. And yes, we have to keep praying for President Trump. We have to pray for him up to the election, and we got to pray for him after the election too. But his findings coincide with a rabbi over in Jerusalem who teaches advanced mathematics. It's Eliyahu Rips, and his name is just how it's spelled, R-I-P-S. And they came up with the same findings. Now, I wanted to find Ronald Reagan attempted assassination and see if that would come up the same. So we don't know. God knows what's going to happen, not just a day and hour, but up to the minute. We don't. So he's saying he's hoping he's wrong. But I don't know. It's bad news. We know he's in peril. And it says it'll be somebody within this inner circle. It'll get him very close to him, but will be a backstabber, a traitor. So we all know he's been surrounded by rhinos. And that's why he couldn't drain the swamp anyway, because there's Republicans in it as well. So, yeah, we the people, we need to start praying for that man. Thanks for letting me call in.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Some interesting thoughts there. 609-407-1450. Let's talk to Bob in Cape May. Bob, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Sean. Hey, look, you brought up that Afghanistan disaster, and a couple things about that, okay? One, $80 billion in armaments were left there. We gave up our Bagram Air Force Base, which we spent huge amounts of money building. It would have been a threat to the Communist Chinese to keep a base there, but again, the incompetence of the Biden administration is just showing itself over and over. Big important point is under Obama, it stopped under Trump, but then Biden instituted this again. Okay, it was the rules of engagement. The 13 soldiers that were killed at that airport by a suicide bomber. We had a sniper who had his trigger on the rifle. He identified the suicide bomber. He had to wait for permission to pull the trigger. Okay, he couldn't do it on his own. He had to get permission from the commanding people in that area. But anyway, it took too long, and the bomb went off. Those soldiers were killed. That's how hamstrung Biden and Obama have hamstrung our military. And the point about Milley, Milley is an absolute, he was a disaster, a total disaster. General Milley is representative of the problems with the military. Okay, you gain promotion in the military by being a political creature. You don't gain promotions anymore in the military by training men and leading men to be efficient fighters. That's what the military's job is. It's to kill other people. That's basically the job of the military. And Milley instituted critical race theory in the military. That's the worst thing for morale. When you teach, you have to make troops go through training sessions where they hate themselves, they feel guilt. That's what's going on, and that's why our military is going to hell. We have there's a Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer, a rising star in the Space Force, part of the Air Force that Trump created. He was forced to resign because he objected to critical race theory and what that did to the training of his troops. So, again, it's Milley's a disaster. One final point there. Tucker Carlson made a very, very funny analogy there. That John, are you familiar with are you familiar with Rachel Levine?
Yes. Transgender person. Yes.
Right. Well, it used to be Rick Levine, and Rick Levine went to the same high school as Milley. They were on the same football team together.
Jeez.
So Tucker made a point here. What Milley and Rick Levine both have in common is not just being from the same little high school, but they both transitioned to overweight, middle-aged women later in adult life. And Milley is it's hilarious if you think about Milley. He's a gruff, nasty guy. And I'm sure if he heard this from what Tucker said, he must have blown his top. So, Milley, you think about it, he kind of has the same physique as Rachel Levine. Who knows? He could be transitioning.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, John.
Okay, thanks for the call. Oh, can't make this stuff up, real life. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have Andy on the line. We'll talk to him after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. Got a couple of open lines. We'll get back to more of Talk with the Purpose in just a moment, but first, we'll get to the situation with Easter and Passover and all that good stuff for the holidays. But first, I wanted to tell you, many times I've told you, when you go to BF Mazzeo, you got to look around, and you'll find things sometimes that you didn't know they had. And last week, I shopped after the show, and there's a big freezer in the back of the store, and they have all kinds of things in there, including gourmet pizzas. These little pizzas that are, personal size pizzas. And it's perfect, for a snack or even a lunch or whatever. And I got the margarita pizza, and I had it yesterday, and it was delicious. And I said to myself, geez, I never knew they had that. So, and I looked around, if I don't know about it, how could I tell you about it? So you got to look around when you go to BF Mazzio. You'll find things that you didn't know were there, and maybe you'll like them. It's that simple. But besides that, the holidays are coming, Easter's coming and all of that stuff. And, Easter bread, cakes, pies, all the goodies. And of course, catering. They've got a full catering menu, and you can stop by and order from there, or you can order online. But what it does is it just takes away a lot of the pressure that you have from making a holiday meal. I mean, I'm going to the family. We're having a holiday meal of like 14 people, and that's a lot. So if you could reduce some of your stress by going to Mazzio and ordering, more power to you. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road in Northfield, and online at bfmazzio.com, bfmazzio.com. And of course, there's the everyday things like the finest fresh fruit and produce, gift baskets, fruit baskets. You want to send something for the holiday to somebody far and wide, feel free to do that. They ship anywhere. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, and online at bfmazzio.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We have a flood watch that remains in effect through Sunday morning. For today, breezy with rain, heavy at times, areas of flooding and difficult travel likely with a high of 56. For tonight, a little rain early this evening, becoming clear, windy and colder with a low of 29. For tomorrow, partly sunny and windy with a high of 51. Tomorrow night, breezy in the evening, a moonlit sky, low 30. I'm AccuWeather's Caitlin Lawrence on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at Comcast.net, jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Feel free to email me program suggestions, pro or con, whatever. We take them all on, jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Let's talk to Andy in Brigantine, and we got to say happy birthday, Andy.
Thanks, John. Yeah, they're coming fast and furious now.
Well, the alternative is they stop, Andy.
Yeah. As a friend of mine once told me, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. It's a great day in Brigantine.
Yes.
So a couple of things I want to discuss. Real quick, I want to one more thing about this bloodbath comment of President Trump. Now, of course, everybody knows what he meant, including the Democrats. But, they like to twist things to make it look evil. But I want to remind everybody of what Chuck Schumer said on the steps of the Supreme Court. He threatened both Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh by name, okay? He said, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Now, when Chuck Schumer was called out about that threat, he said, listen very closely, he said, I'm from Brooklyn. We speak in strong language. Okay, so let's give him that. Well, Donald Trump is from Queens. Do you think they speak in strong language in Queens, John?
Yeah.
So when Trump says bloodbath, just say what Schumer said. Trump's from Queens. They speak in strong language. That's the end of that.
Yeah.
Now, Rush Limbaugh, boy, do we miss him right now. Rush Limbaugh used to say that Barack Obama was presiding over a managed decline of this country. And he also used to talk about how Obama was trying to water down, diminish, render U.S. citizenship meaningless. Now, remember when Obama was asked if he thought that the United States was an exceptional nation and he couldn't answer the question? He said something to the effect, well, I believe that we're an exceptional nation just the way people in Great Britain believe that they're an exceptional nation, or the way people in Greece believe that they're an exceptional nation. When the answer to that question, do you believe that the United States is an exceptional nation, as president, it should have been one word, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it.
That's
okay.
right.
But look at how we have watered down, diminished, and rendered meaningless this notion of U.S. citizenship. We had a judge this week who said that illegals were allowed to have guns. Okay?
Yes.
This was an Obama appointed judge. We have illegals voting in elections in California. And Adams tried to do it in New York City in local elections, and it blew up. But eventually, illegals are going to be allowed to vote.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay? We have illegals coming to this country, and they're being given all of the rights, constitutional rights, that really belong only to American citizens. Once you break the law, whether you're an illegal or even a citizen, once you break the law in this country, you have no rights. You have the right to a trial, obviously. You have the right to food and water and shelter in a prison. But that's where your rights end. You have the right to medical care as well. But in other words, we keep you alive and we keep you housed. That's where your rights end once you've committed a crime. But certainly, when you've broken into this country, as you saw the other day, those illegals cut through the wire fence and just plowed right through those border guards. Okay.
Yeah, and they got one arrest out of that.
Yeah. So what Rush Limbaugh said years ago, John, if illegals can vote, if illegals are being given all of the protections and rights that our Constitution affords, if illegals are allowed to carry guns, if illegals are allowed to squat in your home where now your private property rights no longer exist, what is the point of citizenship? It doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
Okay? So Rush Limbaugh was correct, and this was Obama's, the French term is raison d'etre. It means it was the reason for his existence, the reason he got out of bed in the morning, which was to diminish this country in the eyes of the world. Now, you talk about to Bob from Cape May or Florida, wherever he is today, to his point about this botched Afghanistan, and this is the term they keep using, this botched Afghanistan withdrawal. The Afghanistan withdrawal is botched only if you assume that Joe Biden meant to do the right thing but screwed up. But I maintain that what Joe Biden did in Afghanistan was on purpose. It was by design. So therefore, it wasn't botched. It happened just the way it was meant to happen. They used to say that Barack Obama had a failed presidency. He didn't have a failed presidency. He got done what he wanted to get done, which was to fundamentally transform the country. And we're seeing it now. What Obama did, Biden is continuing, because Obama is still calling the shots.
That's right.
I believe the statistic or the numbers are that 90% of the people who are around Joe Biden right now, in his orbit that are running things, 90% of those people are basically holdovers from the Obama administration. So this is the third term of Obama completing the fundamental transformation that he promised us in 2008. It's just that simple. So it's not a failed presidency. It isn't a botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Everything they are doing is by design. And just like Obama, Joe Biden is presiding over a managed decline of this country. And we are now laughing stocks in the eyes of the world. And I pray to God, just imagine if Donald Trump is able to withstand and survive everything they have done to him, how strong and tough that makes him look in the eyes of the world. When he takes the oath of office, people will be quaking in their boots around the world, just like they did when Ronald Reagan took the oath of office.
That's right.
The Iranians immediately released those hostages.
They caved. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yep.
They caved. Andy, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. And enjoy your birthday. You start off by calling this show. That's appropriate, right? 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. I see where I think Bob Menendez got the memo, all right? He said the other day he's not going to run in the New Jersey primary. But he left an opening. He said he will run as an independent. Okay. Like he'd have a chance. He said, I will be exonerated of all these charges. Oh, okay. All right. But he's not going to run. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that nobody wants to support him. And I see where Atlantic County Democrats have endorsed Andy Kim. He's gotten the nod. So that's good because I don't want to see Tammy Murphy. Can you see another Murphy? 6 years of another Murphy? Please. We had enough punishment here. 8 years of Phil. Dan in Linwood. Dan, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. I'd like to tie some things together. You got great callers as usual. Let's do the first one with that 90% figure about Obama aides.
Yes.
Well, are these the same aides that when Biden turns around and says, I'm going to be in trouble. I can't take any questions.
Yeah.
So basically, he's going to be in trouble with Obama.
Yeah. That's right.
Because he's answering questions and then he can't go off script because you see what happens, how dangerous it can get.
Yes, that's right.
In this Rachel Levine business, now here's a lady, took her mother out of the home, transferred her to a safe private home. She was 95, and her reward for that was going to the federal government, getting a near cabinet level position. And what offends me the most, and I know it'll offend you and your listeners, is they dressed her up in that admiral outfit. And all those captains and lieutenant commanders and all those folks have been waiting all those times to get those admiral bars on them. Guess what? That's very offensive.
Yeah, that is.
What makes her so special that she could wear that uniform? Who decided that?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Yeah.
And your thing about the $85 billion was spot on, but here's the real problem with that. You look at the date and time specific, Obama, he would do something the same way when he was doing an operation. You'll tell the date and time. Biden says we're coming in on this certain date, certain time. Now, if Eisenhower did that in D-Day, what's he going to say? I'll be there at 7:30 in the morning at Normandy?
Yeah, meet me there.
He did the exact opposite. He says we're going to all be in Calais.
Yeah.
And, I guess, General Patton's going to be up there with a big army. The Germans fortified that and left Normandy very, strong, but not what it could have been. We could have lost 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that Joe Biden would give date certain. We're going to be there. And this thing about not giving the sniper the go-ahead, well, that cost you, without those guts, that cost you $85 billion in parts, 13 American soldiers' lives, several citizens' lives, American citizens that never came home, and all the people we work with were stuck there.
Yeah.
And the people that did come back, they were never vetted. They were like military people basically getting on the plane.
Yeah.
There's so much. Everything boils down to our border. You got to see them overrun the guard and down there. Of course, the National Guard was not armed.
Naturally.
It's amazing what we do. They're in the subways. They're not armed. Well, if you're not armed, they're gonna find that out, and they're gonna basically mob you.
That's right. That's right. That was a terrible situation, Dan. Thanks a lot for the call. Lance and Galloway, we'll take you after the 10 o'clock news. You stick around for that. And anyone else, 609-407-1450. Geez, hour number 1 is in the books already, which means hour number 2 is on the way. And we're going to talk about, I know, I talked about it last week, but I dug into some more information about COVID, and you won't be surprised, but remember Fraud Fauci? He is back with a vengeance. Well, he was back. He's not back now, but Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
5.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. It's amazing what we can get done in radio in 5 minutes. It really is. Well, we got to have a break sometime, Every Saturday we're here, Talk with a Purpose. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Marty Small coming in, Atlantic City Mayor Marty Small coming in at 11 o'clock this morning. We're looking forward to that. So we'll talk to Marty about a variety of things. But right now, we got a lot to talk about in this hour. Let's start off with Lance and Galloway. Lance, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to, first off, say hello to a very good pianist that I know, Edward, out in Egg Harbor Township, who's probably listening to your show. And today's weather reflects Claude Debussy's 3 pieces of piano composing entitled Reflections on the Water. And believe me, there's plenty of water out there, and your newscast today merits a lot of reflection. Number 1, I'm going to start off with the late departed Victoria Nuland, who for the last 15, 20 years, starting in the Obama administration, tried to do what she thought was the best thing for globalists in regards to Ukraine, and now she got booted out, and now she's got a job just like Hillary at the university, Columbia. So it's like a revolving door for people that don't know, that are incompetent and know how to spend the war machine's money. That's number one.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Number two, I saw an article in the paper saying that Egg Harbor Township is looking in possibly to use to start up more cannabis. Don't always, wish for or hope for what you wish for, because this is a sleeper cell. And I mean that because too much of that stuff will make you go to sleep. And when you're asleep at the switch. And this is just another money grab for government.
Yes.
To take control of the purse strings like any state liquor store and be able to do, and, even though we don't have state liquor stores per se as much in New Jersey as they do in Pennsylvania and other states, the people that do have a liquor license pay through the roof for them, and they're like almost like a gold or some of the precious metals.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And then number three, I would have to say that the swamp in D.C. is turning into a racetrack because there's so many people that are literally Trojan horses that will wait their time through one administration, two administrations, and the same people, Blinken, Newland, even Mealy, even though he left, Mousy Mealy, had time to write a book and, cheat and dispute everything the former president wanted. But there's other people, Jake Sullivan. All these people are like doofuses when it comes to figuring out what it is. And unfortunately, we put up a proxy politician, ex-comedian, and prankster that is just wants to spend our war machine money. And if you think the war machine isn't making money, just take a look at all the good things that Big Pharma is doing. And that's another thing.
Yeah.
This is the kind of day, and that's why I say, with all the rain, you're inside, you can listen, use your other senses to actually listen and think clearer or use critical thinking skills in regards to what's going on out there.
Yeah.
And the final thing is that if you have the time and after you've done all your things that are essential to provide and prepare for those that matter most in your life, just go back and remember one of the basic math skills. Count your blessings. John,
that's right.
Have a very pleasant day.
You too. In spite of the rain, have a pleasant day. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I want to get to, and I'll get to this in a minute, I did a little research because I started to talk about COVID and how they really sold us down the river with all of the things. And then I found out another couple of things this week, and it has to do with Fraud Fauci and those people that were advising Trump, and then Biden comes along and says, I got you out of COVID. Really? You did? And all the fraudsters there got us into COVID. So we'll talk about that. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But first, let's talk to Greg in Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with the Purpose.
Mr. Damasi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I keep hearing that we haven't won a war since the Second World War. That's not quite true. President Reagan declared war on Grenada.
Yeah.
I think the war lasted 2 days.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Grenada put up a flag and gave up.
Yeah.
We probably paid them $500 million in war reparations, took our flag down, and left. So that was a very simple, it was a simple war, very short, but we did win a war, surprisingly. I don't even know if they have it. I'm not sure they have them anymore.
Yeah.
They have a band. Our Justice Department. I find it, I cannot get my head wrapped around it. They tried, people from overseas are stealing our homes, depleting them of all their wealth. So you're in a house and you figure you own it. When you go to sell it, you find out you do not own it. You don't have any value in it whatsoever. It's gone. It's been depleted. The Justice Department says, well, owner, that's your responsibility. Oh, what do we have a Justice Department for if they won't implement justice against people that are trying to destroy us? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what do they go? You know, it's like they just travel on. The FBI is tied up saving the banks from $1,500 thefts while people are coming in and stealing $4 or $5 or $6 million homes and depleting it of all its wealth.
Yeah.
Don't make any sense to me.
No.
It may make sense to them, but we just sit out here wondering what the hell's happening to citizenship in this country.
Yeah, yeah. More and more it's looking like, these illegals are coming over here and they're going to be, they're automatically going to become citizens. I mean, what's that all about?
Right. Well, the question was, well, why are they coming in? And there's an obvious answer. The Democrats realized how many votes they were going to lose.
Sure.
Between all of the different ethnic groups. And it's happening. They're
That's right.
just walking away from it. So they had to fill those roles somehow, so they opened the gates and let them in.
Yeah, that's right.
Something for us to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing of late, I just got a letter in whether or not we want English as the national language. When I started to read this, I said, what the hell language would we want?
Well, maybe we want Greek or Spanish is that ridiculous or what?
Yeah, well, as they come over the border, they are surprised that we don't speak Spanish. Now they want Spanish as the national language. And then somebody else comes in and they want it. And they keep, by the time we're done, we're not going to speak any language. We're not going to be able to teach our kids anything.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be the Tower of Babel.
Can you imagine? Press 1 for English. Press 2 for Spanish. Press 3 for French. Press 4 for...
It sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
right?
it does. Greg, thank you for the call. Oh, sometimes you got to laugh. But it's all the stuff we talk about. It seems to be happening. John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, it's going to be press 1 for Mandarin, as in Chinese.
I forgot about that one.
Yes. What I'm against is American kids coming home in body bags and caskets due to unconstitutionally declared wars. That's what I'm against. The last constitutionally declared war was World War II. That being said, there was a woman that had escaped from South Africa. She's a white woman of Dutch Boer and Anglo descent. And she said, what happened there is going to happen here. Now, the communist coup took place, started with F.W. de Klerk. F.W. de Klerk was not black, he was white. And that's when they brought in 40 million illegals from countries north. They didn't go through the naturalization process. They came over the border from countries north of South Africa. There was a population of 5 million whites and 6 million blacks. And the lady that was speaking, she spoke perfect Zulu. She says, why would we learn the language of people that we hated? We were getting along fine. And even though the apartheid system had unfair policies about it, the Dutch Boers were excellent farmers. They brought their farming techniques down from the Netherlands, and everybody was well fed. Now people are struggling for a loaf of bread. And all those illegals that came over, they started killing white people during the day, but it ended up being they were breaking into their homes and killing them at nighttime. So that's what's going on now. So she said it's the same communist mindset that was operative there in South Africa is now here in America. And it is time for us to wake up, man. And I'll tell you what, just a message to those leftist, progressive, socialist Democrats. The guillotine blades were thirsty for blood in the French Revolution. And the people that promoted the French Revolution found their heads on the chopping blocks. Just a little message for my leftist idiot friends. Thanks.
All right, John, thanks. Oh, boy. He was right on with that one. 609-407-1450. 609-407-1450. A couple open lines here. good time to get in. We're going to come up on a break in a couple of minutes. But first, I wanted to get to this about the COVID crisis. Last week, we were talking about it and how it possibly has affected us to this day. And it did. And it is still possible that the government may be the ultimate tyrant. And you think about what happened during COVID. Just go with me on this. Forget about the liberal press talking about Donald Trump. Their reaction and decisions on COVID were despicable. First, let's start with the closed businesses. Remember, it was supposed to be for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then you can open up. Okay. It ended up being, in many cases, 5 or 6 months, if not longer. Governors Murphy, Wolf of Pennsylvania, and Cuomo of New York at the time, those last two are no longer governor. But they ran with some wild executive decisions. According to CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, to be frank, we are responsible for some pretty dramatic, pretty public mistakes, from testing to data to communications. How about that? None was so dramatic as the 6-foot social distancing requirement. Remember that? And they had little things on the floor of businesses. Stay 6 feet apart, and they would actually be 6 feet, and you had to stand on the mark. I was in a bank once, and they threatened to call the police on me because I wasn't 6 feet apart. I was like 5, 4, whatever it was. They threatened me. Can you imagine? Despite evidence presented by scientists that 3 feet would suffice for social distancing, then CDC head Fraud Fauci refused to change protocols. When presented with evidence to the contrary, the CDC held firm and fast on their mission, which was to deceive the American public. Fauci and his crew and the Biden administration sought to undermine, silence, and discredit dissenters. Oh, boy. And I'll tell you more about this. There's a part 2 to this story, and I will get to that after the break. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We are coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, we talk about, well, there's a special sales event happening right now at Lexus, and specifically Lexus of Atlantic City. And so it's on the sort of the specialty models, the high-speed models, the sports enthusiasts. And I have a friend of mine who has the Lexus, I think it's called the SC500, and he loves it, and it's a great car. But, you know, that's not me. I'm more of a sedan and very comfortable ride type of guy. But there is something for everyone at Lexus. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online at aclexus.com. And, you know, you can see all the models yourself. You can see them right online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. You check it out and you say, hey, that one looks nice, that one looks nice. You can go over there, test drive it, no hassle, no hype, hey, you got to buy this car now because somebody's coming in this afternoon to buy it. None of that stuff. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. And again, online at aclexus.com. Check it out because you'll be pleasantly surprised at the ride. If you never drove a Lexus, boy, I'll tell you, you're in for a treat. aclexus.com, the website, Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyAndProsperity.com. Last month, American Thinker published an article I wrote about the war in the Middle East. I call it 13 key facts about Israel that are known by very few Americans. I invite you to Google it or look it up at LibertyAndProsperity.com. One is that Palestine was never an Arab nation. It was the name that a Roman emperor gave to Israel after he crushed a Jewish rebellion there. Another is that most of Israel or Palestine was mostly empty malaria swamp and desert until about 100 years ago. Most Arabs did not move there until after Jews drained the swamps, watered the deserts, and planted trees and crops. Learn more about these and other important facts about Jews, Christians, and Arabs in and around Israel. Visit LibertyAndProsperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. LibertyAndProsperity.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Chris and I were just reminiscing about the stupid rules about COVID. Oh, I tell you. Remember when there was no toilet paper or paper towels? You walked down the aisle of where the paper towels were, and there was nothing there. I mean, oh, you gotta love it. 609-407-1450. I'll get to part two of some of the ridiculousness of COVID. Just going down memory lane, unfortunately. Bob in Cape May is back. Bob, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, John. You know, what you brought up about COVID, it just shows very dramatically what big government can do.
Yes.
The damage it can do.
Yes.
And, you know, and of course the leftists that are running this country now, they're big believers in big government, just like the communists in the Soviet Union, and you know. But the just to give you some examples about COVID here, our kids lost precious time in terms of their education. Schools were unnecessarily shut down, totally unnecessary.
Right.
Sweden, John, Sweden never shut down. They never had lockdowns. Their kids continued going to school. I don't think Sweden ever mandated masks at all. And the death toll from COVID for kids from like 6 months to 15 years old, you know how many deaths they had in Sweden?
Probably very few.
0.
Wow.
0. So the damage that these bureaucrats, Fauci should be tried as a war criminal.
Yes, he should. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yes.
And you know, you see these self-righteous leftists, these idiots, total idiots. You still see it going on. You see people driving in cars, one person, one driver with a mask on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, what? You know,
who are you protecting?
Well, you know, it's really not safe to do that because, you know, you got a mask on, your vision somewhat impaired. That's not a good thing.
No.
If you wear glasses and you got a mask on, glasses could steam up. You know, I mean, the idiocy is just amazing. And you know, in May of 2020, there was a study by a Stanford professor named Jay Bhattacharya that it concluded that COVID was, yes, it was it was transmittable, okay, but it wasn't lethal as we thought it would be. I mean, it was lethal, yes, but what the study indicated was that we did not need to shut the country down.
That's right. That's right.
And the governor of Florida and the governor of Georgia and a few other governors, like the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, they did not shut down like the rest of the country. They did not inflict the same kind of pain that the little Svachim in New York, Cuomo, and then of course Murphy and Wolf in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
And the guy in Delaware. They all followed Cuomo's lead. And again, we saw what happened. These people killed elderly people by putting COVID patients back in nursing homes. I mean, these people, third train wreck. They really are.
Yeah, and they should be prosecuted. I mean, really, when you think about it, look at Cuomo. Yeah. What did he do?
Well, he killed about 8,000.
That's right.
Senior citizens unnecessarily.
That's right.
And you have your elderly parent, right, has COVID. You couldn't even say goodbye to them. They're dying, and you couldn't say goodbye.
That's right.
To them. You could not embrace them. You could not touch them. And I know you said you're still recovering from your what happened to your business.
Right. That's right.
And a lot of people that they saved their life savings, put in their businesses. They took a chance. They wanted to work hard, and the government hammered them with these COVID restrictions.
That's right.
And ruined them.
Remember the hairdresser? Remember that lady? The hairdresser, she opened and Murphy had her locked up?
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember the gym owners, the Angeles gym owners.
Yes.
The guy with the beard, right?
Yes.
He was a big target of Murphy. And you know what? His business should have stayed open. It would not have contributed to any COVID issues. It totally unnecessary to do.
Yes, that's right.
Bob,
thanks a lot. Yeah. All right. Let me get to this. Then we have Andy and Greg again. We'll get to them in just a moment. Okay. So this starts with Elon Musk. He bought Twitter, and that allowed for journalists to uncover some facts. This is an independent journalist. His name is Matt, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Taibbi. He was able to uncover the Biden administration pressuring with success Twitter executives to elevate or suppress information that, according to Matt Taibbi, was true but inconvenient. The worst act of fraud Fauci is in October of 2020. 3 epidemiologists challenged the CDC for a more balanced and measured approach. Time would prove the great doctors were right. But Fauci would have none of that. He solicited his media buddies at the Washington Post, the New York Times, ABC News, and others to discredit those doctors' credibility. COVID-19 may not be a threat now, but as we said last week, an increasingly authoritarian government still is a threat. I remember thinking many, many times, is this America? Is this a free country? And I just shook my head and wondered when we were going through all that. And like I said, and Bob pointed it out, just now, 4 years after the fact, just now, I'm beginning to recover from COVID, business-wise. Health-wise, I was fine. But business-wise, just now beginning to recover. I hope it never happens again. Andy in Brigantine is back. Andy, you're celebrating your birthday or what?
Oh, yeah. I had a nice breakfast at the Brigantine Bistro. It was a lump crab meat Benedict with asparagus.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
but I'll be working today. And
Okay.
maybe having that's what adults do, John. Yeah, it's your birthday, but you work.
That's right. I did.
Of course you did. That's what adults do. That's what we do. Okay. By the way, his name is Matt Taibbi.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. He's a young guy. He's an independent journalist. He's not a conservative by any stretch. He's just a guy who calls balls and strikes.
Yeah.
So about COVID, it's one of my favorite topics. I saw a meme not too long ago, and it said that the vaccine wasn't created for COVID, but that COVID was created for the vaccine. So think about that. And I've taken this several steps further. The mandates weren't created because of COVID. COVID was created to bring about mandates. So I'll explain. If you need to do a massive human experiment to find out just how far you can push people, to find out what you have to do to control masses of people, to steal elections, et cetera, then you need to have fear, which is the strongest human emotion, fear. If you can scare people, make them think that their lives are at risk, you can get them to do anything you want them to do. But you have to have a reason for the fear. You have to have a reason for the mandates. Enter COVID. So it's like the chicken and the egg. Were the vaccines and the mandates created because of COVID? Or was COVID created in order to give them an excuse to force people to take this injection, which has now caused a lot of damage in a lot of people? And we're going to see the fallout of this, John, over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We've got stage 4 cancers popping up in people left and right who were completely healthy people, blood clots, heart attacks. Rod Stewart's 11-year-old son had a heart attack. I mean, you see these athletes who are at their peak physical fitness dropping dead. You're seeing young people with illnesses that usually develop in the elderly. Now, you want to do the tinfoil hat? I know Flash loves to go in that direction, but maybe he is with a tinfoil hat once in a while, but a lot of times, most of the time, he's pretty straight. So here's the deal. So the tinfoil hat, if your goal is to replace the existing population with a new population, well, what do? You have to try to get rid of the existing population. Well, COVID and the mandates and everything that happened is caused a lot of depression among our kids, suicides. Now this vaccine is causing blood clots and diseases. Wait till these kids, these teenagers, these young children get into their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Who wonders what kinds of things they're going to be dealing with, what illnesses, if they're even going to make it to middle age. If you kill off the people who are in their childbearing and child-rearing years, and you send in millions of new people to replace them, is it tinfoil hat stuff? I mean, it seems to me that this massive human experiment was extremely successful because 80% of the population allowed the government to convince them to put an untested substance into their bodies. And we talk about the all of this squatting that's going on right now. Think about this. During COVID, either you took the vaccine or you lost your job. So you didn't have any rights over your own body. Okay? Either your children took the vaccine or they couldn't go to school. Even though the parents may have not wanted their kids to have the vaccine, they had to take it. So now parents have no parental rights. And during COVID, if you remember, tenants were told by the government that they didn't have to pay their rent to their landlords.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Which means that they took away your property rights.
That's right.
So if you have no property rights, if you have no parental rights, and if you have no rights to your own person, your own body, then that's not America. That's China.
That's right. That's right.
So I maintain that the vaccines and the mandates, all the regulations were not created because of COVID. I believe COVID was created to give them an excuse for all the regulations.
That's right.
And the mandates and the vaccine to see how far they could push the people and how many of them they could control. And you see these people, to Bob's point, who are still walking around with masks. I don't consider them masks. I consider them Joe Biden merch, because they don't make Biden hats, because who would buy that?
That's right.
If someone's wearing a mask, they're pretty much saying, "Hey, I'm voting for Biden." It's just a given.
That's right.
How did I say?
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for the call. It just makes you wonder: is this America? That's really what I wondered, and Andy was making some good points there. You just wonder, is this America, or they're trying to control us? And let's face it, America wasn't based on government control, and we seem to be getting away from that. I hope we don't have another COVID. I just hope. We're going to take Greg after the break, and maybe we'll take you, 609-407-1450. We're going to talk about the border crisis in Texas, and if we have time, wait till you hear what a columnist said was so great about Kamala Harris. You can't make this stuff up. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Again, 609-407-1450. Couple of open lines, 609-407-1450. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
Easter bread, pies, cakes, and all your holiday goodies. It's all right there at BF Mazzio. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, also has a full catering menu to make your holiday entertaining easier. And of course, don't forget their award-winning gift baskets and fruit baskets. BF Mazzio, where you can shop online at bfmazzio.com. That's bfmazzio.com for the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere, plus gourmet items. There's only one place, BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We have a flood watch in effect through Sunday morning. For this afternoon, going to be breezy with rain, heavy at times, high 56. Little rain early this evening, then becoming clear, windy and colder with a low 29. Partly sunny, windy tomorrow, the high 51 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, sunny and breezy with high 55. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
If you miss any of today's show, well, I'll tell you, we always have things for you for your convenience. We have our Talk with a Purpose replay, Sundays 5 until 7. That's tomorrow, 5 until 7, right here on Talk Radio 95.5 WPG. And also heard on 1450 AM and online at WPGTalkRadio.com. So if you miss it today, catch it tomorrow, 5 until 7, right here, Talk with a Purpose, the replay. We have, let's see, Greg and Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome back.
Massey, good morning.
Morning, sir.
COVID could have had another name. And I can see Fauci standing there saying, loose the Kraken. It could have been Kraken. That would have solved a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Because people would have realized this is the real deal.
Yeah.
It ran the full gambit of what was really bad or tragic by sending old people into nursing homes.
Yeah.
To meet their demise.
Yes. Yeah.
Or the most ridiculous, I think, prior to a Memorial Day, they had all the restaurants told they're going to open for Memorial Day to greet all of our visitors.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And right before Memorial Day, they said, we have changed our minds. We're not going to open.
That's right.
And these restaurants had to close. The business, not just the restaurants. They had to take all their supplies, either throw it away or donate it or give it away.
That's right.
Just absurdity. We will never have another COVID like that one.
No.
Because people will not go for it at all.
Nope, they will not. Nope.
Well, it's a learning lesson.
Yeah.
And that was, and it's still going on. We're still learning. Don't mess around with God and nature and specifically germs, because they don't remain the same. They keep mutating, changing. What we're looking at now is totally different than when it started.
Yes.
And it's not over yet.
Yeah. It just made me wonder, is this America? I mean, we had all these mandates, and you had to wear a mask if you went into a business and you didn't wear a mask. Hey, put your mask on.
Well, think about a restaurant having to put up plexiglass dividers.
Yes.
Between booths and tables, and we're talking megabucks.
Yeah, that's right.
That they had to spend to open, and now what do they do with all that stuff?
That's right. That's right.
It's in storage for the next time.
Yeah, that's right.
It's insane, but we don't have to worry about it because it's not going to be called COVID. They'll give it another name.
That's right. COVID Part 2. Greg, thanks for the call. John in Ocean City. John, welcome back.
Yes, it's a.k.a. The Flash. Calling in yet a third time. What else is new, right? Regarding COVID, we had a government that was really looking out for us. They would have been pushing a vaccine with graphene oxide in it. Graphene oxide can cause renal failure, can make you choke on your own liquids, cause your lungs to fill up with liquid, or make your heart stop. But instead, they instead of letting us have the option of using ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, they pushed that vaccine on. The magic potion poke. And I know a lot of people that still feel sick from getting that magic potion poke. As far as it was the CIA that weaponized conspiracy theory. They didn't invent it, but when people started questioning the JFK assassination in 1967, that's when it came out. Now, Ted Gunderson said, we're not conspiracy theorists, we're conspiracy realists. And that goes for replacement theories. It's the leftists are right. It's not replacement theory. It's replacement reality. That's what's going on. And we're not that stupid. I mean, I'm getting tired of getting pushed around by these people, man. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Well, boy, we certainly did get pushed around during COVID, didn't we? Man, I'll tell you. When you zig, they say zag. When you zag, you say zig. Ridiculous. We got some open lines, so 609-407-1450 if you want to jump in here. 609-407-1450. The border controversy continues in Texas. I don't know where this is going. A volley of courtroom maneuvers would allow the state to arrest and deport people who enter the U.S. illegally. But wait. However, the officials there still need direction because of the confusion caused by several rulings. A ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court allowed the law to take effect for several hours on Tuesday. Now, no arrests were reported during the hours that the law was in effect. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has said it would not have authority to deport under the state law. Okay, I'm confused already. The Justice Department has argued that Texas law is a clear violation of federal authority and would create chaos at the border. Under the Texas law, once migrants are in custody on charges of illegal entry, they can agree to a judge's order to leave the U.S. or face prosecution. Now, that I understand. Mexico, however, said it would refuse to take back anyone who was ordered to cross the border. Did you make any sense out of that? Except the Texas law was in effect for a couple of hours, but it's against federal law to arrest, for Texas to arrest them? I just, I don't understand it. Do you? I mean, make sense of this. But we've still got a border crisis, that's for sure. Bob and Cape May is back. Bob, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, John. Just real quick about the vaccine here. That I was listening to Robert Malone, who developed that RNA, helped develop that vaccine, and he's certainly very anti-vax, given the evidence. And an interesting point is that if you get boosted, so originally we got 2 shots, right?
Yes.
Right? And then if you get a third, your body there's an immunoresponse, a negative immunoresponse, meaning your immune system is compromised. And to Andy's point there regarding you just think about what this could do here in terms of weaponization of biological weapons. Like, I strongly believe the Chinese deliberately let this virus loose on the world. There's very little doubt about it.
I believe that too. Yes.
Yeah, but the point here is that after the population gets vaccinated and gets boosted, and you have this problem with your immune system, you are really vulnerable to the second phase, the second attack that the Chinese could unleash on us, where you will get massive fatalities. So again, this could be a huge problem. And and we talk about that. There was trying to remember what this guy's name was. Okay, he worked for the national laboratory that dealt with immune diseases and viruses, and he was advocating that a branch of our military be devoted to identifying these viruses in their early stages, when there's an outbreak somewhere in the world, to identify and isolate this very, very quickly, because what this could do to our population, to our our economy, and to our population is pretty staggering. What could happen. So it's just the point I'm making is here. I'm hoping most of the listeners didn't get boosted. I swallowed the Kool-Aid as far as getting the 2 shots. I never got the third. I'm not ever getting another one.
Me too. Yeah.
So
I got the 2, and then that's it. Yeah.
That's it, right? Yeah. Because it total lies. I mean, think about all the lies that were shoved down our throats.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
We were told, right? You get vaccinated, you're done with COVID. You're done. And really, the opposite is true. The people that got, especially the ones that got boosted, they tended to get sick more. At least in my circle of friends, any of these people that just were just gung-ho on all these booster shots, they're the ones that got COVID a few months later.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? I mean, so.
Bob,
all right, John.
Bob, thanks for the call. You know, that brings up another point. You had to, in many cases, if you were going into a restaurant, you had to show your vaccine card with proof that you had both the shots. So I go into this restaurant. I was with a friend, female friend. I had both my shots. She had only one. They wouldn't seat us. We had to go somewhere else. That's the level of businesses that were, we can't have you spreading COVID. Well, you didn't have COVID. But can you imagine? I mean, it's just everywhere you turned, you had this obstacle of, did you get vaccinated? Did you not get vaccinated? Did you wear a mask? Did you not wear a mask? I mean, it was just, and I got onto this kick, and then I saw this other research this week, and I thought, yeah, I've got to talk about this. But 609-407-1450. Got a couple of minutes left of hour number 2. If you want to jump in here on anything we're talking about, whether it be COVID or the border or anything at all, 609-407-1450. I just wanted to mention, and you know, I'm just so amazed at the liberal commentators and the liberal columnists, the lengths that they will go to tout Kamala Harris. There is nothing that I can see that would tout Kamala Harris. I mean, what has she done? Except giggle a lot and make no sense of whatever she's saying. Did you ever analyze her speeches? I mean, I can't even repeat it. It's so convoluted. But anyway, I read this column and it says, Joe Biden needs Kamala Harris. And I thought, well, maybe he needs Kamala Harris, but the American people don't. That's for sure. So this columnist says Kamala Harris is a key to a Biden victory in November. Well, if she's a key, boy, that is a bad key. That's not going to open too many locks. That's for sure. The liberal media, of course, is saying Harris is a key part of Biden's administration. Just last week, according to this columnist, here's a quote. Harris had one of the finest moments of her career. You want to know why? She became the first sitting vice president to visit an abortion clinic. Huh? I'm not making this up. This is in print, and I'll show it to you if you want. It's something no president has done either. Can you imagine touting Kamala Harris for going to an abortion clinic? Remember, that's the same Kamala Harris who was in charge of the border patrols and never visited the border? Oh. So she gets high marks for visiting an abortion clinic. I just don't believe that. That somebody would tout her for visiting a clinic. Only in liberal America can this happen. Visit the border? Nah, not important at all. Visit an abortion clinic. Yeah, that deserves high praise. Oh, I just don't believe it. I really, you can't make this stuff up. And we say that all the time. You can't make it up. But here it is. Well, hour number 3 is almost here. And we're going to have Marty Small, who is the mayor of Atlantic City. And Marty is going to be with us for most of the hour. And we got a lot to talk about with him. Many things happening in Atlantic City. We'll talk about the road diet, and we'll talk about the project for Bader Field. And we're going to find out the real story of the air show and why that almost didn't happen. But Marty got some favors called in and got it done. So we'll talk about that as well. 609-407-1450 will be the number, and you're welcome to call in when Marty Small is here because, as he said to me during the week, hey, ask me anything. I don't need questions. Everything's on the table. So we got that straight, and we will ask him anything at all. That's coming up at 11 o'clock. Marty Small here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And again, 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. Marty Small again coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll look forward to that. And anything you want to talk about, 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose. And hour number 2 rapidly coming to a close. Hour number 3 on the way with Mayor Marty Small. Hour number 3 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We're also heard on 1450 AM and online at WPGTalkRadio.com. So you have a variety of ways to listen to us. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPGTalkRadio.com is the website. Okay, we have Mayor Marty Small. We're going to get to him in just a moment. But a lot of things on the table today. We have. I mean, we were talking about COVID, which brought us down the memory lane. You know, thinking about the mask mandates and the business requirements and all of that stuff. So we'll get to that later on in the show. But first, we welcome to the program the mayor of Atlantic City. And it's always a great day in the city of Atlantic City. Mayor Marty Small. Mayor Small, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning, John, and good morning to your listening audience. And it's a great day here in the city of Atlantic City. Can we say great day?
Sure we can. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. You know, you were in the news a lot this week.
Yes.
You want to talk about what happened with the air show? I mean, I was shocked to see that it wasn't going to happen, and then you pulled a rabbit out of your hat at the last minute. So you want to talk about that and how that happened?
Yes. So Michael Chait and my PIO had a conversation, said that he wanted to let me know before he let a group of people know that, you know, it's looking like the air show wouldn't happen. And, you know, I started to think, well, that's not good. We're not having the beach concert this year. The air show is a great event, great midweek business. You know, millions upon millions of people have traveled to the great city of Atlantic City over the course of time to attend the air show. And, you know, I wanted to do all I could to help. So then word started to leak out, I guess from, you know, conversations or whatever. Word started to leak out that not only was it canceled for this year, it will be canceled for next year. And I called Michael Chape again. I said, Mike, just let me ask you a question. Just, you know, give me the numbers. I said, what does it take for this to happen? He said $250 to just have the event, $300 to do what we've always done. I said, I'll call you back, just like that. I didn't tell him who I was calling or anything. I got on the phone with Governor Murphy, and I told the governor that the air show is in jeopardy and that as mayor of the great city of Atlantic City, it's vitally important that we do everything that we can to save the air show. The governor said, okay, I understand. He was like, let me, you know, see which funding sources we can use, and, you know, I'll get back to you. So then a letter went out basically saying that if funding wasn't done, I believe the date was this week, the air show would definitely be canceled. They needed the funding commitment. Somehow, some way, that word got up to Trenton, and one of the governor's staffers called me back and said, hey, Mayor, tell Michael Chape to cool the jets, so to speak. He said, we're going to make this happen. We're close to identifying the funding, but you just let us do what we need to do. I called Michael Chape. I said, look, the gov said cool the jets. We're going to get this done. And I gave him an example of another event that we took from Hollywood, Florida, which was the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and the governor stepped in and provided the necessary funding. I said, he's not going to say nothing that, you know, he doesn't mean. So in the meantime, we were waiting. I told Mike, I said, look, quietly tell who you need to tell that the money's definitely coming, but, you know, we can't say anything. And I didn't want to trump the governor's announcement. So that's why, you know, I had to do a little dance with the media to kind of give them a hint, but not officially tell them. All I said was, look, Atlantic City's a gambling town. If I was a betting man, bet on Atlantic City, and I see you on Boardwalk in mid-August. So that's all I was able to give. And then the governor texted me. He said, Mayor, I just want to let you know we have the funding. Move on. The air show is a full go. We was in a group text with Tim Sullivan, who's the head of the EDA, and Rob Phil, who was the governor's aide that was working on this with us. And he said, look, you know, thank the EDA for the $300,000. And I said, okay, Gov, all right, boom, we're going to set up a press conference next week where to be a, you know, big announcement. So, and that's what we told the media. Much, you know, to our surprise, and it's definitely within the governor's purview, the governor announced it later that afternoon. And by the time the text came to me and the announcement was made, the funding source came from South Jersey Transportation Authority, which, as I told the gov and everyone, I didn't care where the funding came from, as long as we got it for the air show. And as they say, the rest is history. So we held the press event the next day to kind of get into the details that the people didn't know and how close it was to being canceled. So, listen, I'm the biggest advocate for the great city of Atlantic City, its biggest promoter. And anytime I feel a need to step in, and I also wanted to make it clear, because you started hearing unfair chatter that, oh, what's the mayor doing to step up to save the air show? They want to spend money on this, they want to spend money on that, but the air show is important, and people didn't even know what was going on. So I'm happy to be able to step in and to have those relationships. And I always say relationships matter, and life is the relationship, and we are where we are right now.
Well, congratulations on doing that. But I'm curious, why was it in trouble in the first place? I didn't understand that, because I saw the numbers. I think it brings in like, what is it, 900,000 in revenue or something, some high number. I mean, which you would probably know.
Well, I'm not involved in those books. It was a major event in the city, and they said that it was in trouble, and I felt that I needed to step into action. With the price of everything around the world going up, it's not just an Atlantic City thing. So the example that was given to me, so let's just say if we got 20,000 chairs, right?
Yes.
And those 20,000 chairs increase $4 a chair. That's $80,000.
Yes.
So that's just one line item. And if you have inflation in every single line item, that's just dollars and cents. So that's how we got to that 250, 300 number.
Yes. Okay.
And as they say, the rest is history. And I know 2025 is out there, but right now the energy is focused on 2024. We'll do what we need to do again to make that happen and move forward.
Okay. 609-407-1450. If you want to call in, you have a question for Mayor Small, now's the time to call in, 609-407-1450. He will happily take your calls at 609-407-1450. I got to ask you this thing about the Stanley Homes Village. Yeah. I don't understand how somebody, I don't understand any of this, but all I know is I heard that somebody is making $500,000 a year and is not doing the job and wants to renew his contract, and the whole thing is a mess. Can you kind of explain this to us? What's going on there?
It's simple. First and foremost, kudos to the board members who are trying their best in an incredibly difficult situation. The thing that I don't like is, people, from the outside want to chime, want to chirp in, and they don't know all the facts. They're just seeing a headline in the newspaper and really don't know what's going on. Let me tell you when the city stepped in, and I'm going to talk to your listening audience. The great city of Atlantic City has absolutely nothing to do with the day-to-day operation of the housing authority. All we do, through the mayor and the governor, is appoint the board of commissioners. That's how it's always been. We're not involved in the day-to-day operation. However, last year, as the Southern New Jersey vice president of the Urban Mayors Association, we went to Washington, D.C. with the White House. We met with White House officials, and Marsha Fudge was in one of the rooms, and I took Marsha Fudge in the hallway. I said, I'm here to talk about Stanley Homes Village. I want to show you the conditions that the people are living in. And she said it was unacceptable. And she said that she would come to Atlantic City. She said she's been to New Jersey the most out of any state. She's been there 6 times. She's going to find a way to put it in her calendar to come back again. You got to realize she's over the entire country. She hears war stories like Stanley Homes Village on a daily basis. She sent in short order her number one deputy down here. We got things going. But I want to say this. People choose to have revisionist history. People choose to have selective amnesia. It was Mayor Small who called a press conference and called the federal government out that got the housing authority out of zero threshold, meaning that if they wanted to buy an ink pen, they had to get permission from HUD. So our action got the housing authority going, and I took the unprecedented steps. And the city of Atlantic City's code enforcement, all of our departments don't inspect the housing authority. That comes from them. I took the steps to get things going, to have all of our inspectors, both code enforcement and health, go through those units one by one. And some residents weren't cooperating. They didn't want people in, but at the end of the day, you want to complain about things not being done. We took an aggressive action. The small administration took an aggressive action. And we went through those units, and Del Finch, who's our director of licensing and inspection, said, frankly, if I had to issue a CO for the units, none of them would pass. There's over 420 units in Stanley Homes Village. And when they couldn't pick up trash, it was piled up because they couldn't pay their contractors because of said zero threshold. The city of Atlantic City stepped in and picked up the trash for the residents of Atlantic City. People that's being political opportunists wanted to always say that, hey, the residents of Stanley Homes don't have heat and hot water, on and on and on and on. It was the small administration that worked with the Red Cross and our fire department. We were at the ready to provide blankets and the requisite space heaters that was conducive to the unit being warmed and not set on fire. Other people that wanted to play politics went to the store and bought heaters, not knowing that we've already been down that road. However, our fire chief said, be careful, we needed to get a certain type of heater, and we were at the ready to purchase heaters for all of those units. But nobody wants to talk about that. And then it gets political. Jeff Van Drew, who writes a letter to the very agency that he represents, I don't understand it. You are calling out the federal government, and you are the federal government. If you had enough clout in Washington, D.C., why didn't you put an emergency appropriations in the budget for an emergent demolition and housing? No, what they want to do, they want to write letters and they want to parade around with people like Steve Young and go through Stanley Holmes Village. And I said it at the council meeting the other night. I don't bite my tongue. Jeff Van Drew needed a DPS to find out where Stanley Holmes Village was. And all it was is a charade. Steve Young had the nerve to say that he put the pressure to make Martha Fudge resign. That is ludicrous. The bottom line is there's a lot of trouble with the housing authority. We all need to work together and stop playing politics and placing the blame. Y'all didn't blame any other mayor of the condition of Stanley Holmes Village, but want to blame Mayor Small. And at the end of the day, I have a saying, John, that men, women, political opportunists lie, but the numbers and facts don't. This administration is doing a hell of a job. We're going to have a major financial announcement next week. We're offering more programs and service than any other administration, and the political haters and the people who don't like Mayor Small can't take it. You know what? They really like what's going on in the city, but they don't like that Mayor Small is doing it. And I put my record up against any mayor.
So where is the status of Stanley Holmes Village now? Is it righting the ship, or where is it?
So first of all, Stanley Holmes need to be torn down, not now, but right now. And we need to identify places. I stepped up, and nobody wants to talk about this. I stepped up over 3 years ago when I first got in office, and I gave the housing authority a whole city block. It was a three-way trade between the great city of Atlantic City, the housing authority, and CRDA. We weren't looking for any money. This is to help out in a crisis. And the project was called Stanley Jr., but one of the interim executive directors sat on it, and we're currently allocating that land for the future use of a community recreation center. However, if that falls apart, we would then entertain a discussion again of bringing that possibility back. But it needs to be torn down now. And I got news for you. HUD came in and they said, yes, it's bad, but it's not as bad as they thought it was. And they have no interest of taking over the Atlantic City Housing Authority. So we just got to keep plugging away. They have a great consultant, Diane Johnson, who used to work for the federal government, for HUD. When I first got on city council, she was the person that was representing Atlantic City. So she has an intimate knowledge of Atlantic City. And look, that condition didn't get that way overnight, and it's not going to be solved overnight. So people need to stop playing politics, and if they're going to tell a story like it is.
But the guy who was getting $500,000, there was a story in the paper that he was up for renewal of his contract. So you don't have anything to do with that?
Absolutely not. The Housing Authority is a separate entity, just like the MUA, just like the Board of Education and any other governmental body. But what happened was, instead of getting someone maybe $130,000, $120,000 a year to do the job as an employee, they used a consultant. And we all know that consultants are more expensive than employees. I don't know where that action is. I want to give my colleague, Stephanie Marshall, who is a great lady that's trying her absolute best to figure out what they need to do to approve the contract or not approve the contract. I'm not involved in that.
Okay, well, do you mind we take a break here, Mayor? We got to pay some bills, as they say in radio. So
that's okay.
Okay. We're coming back with Mayor Marty Small, Mayor of Atlantic City, Marty Small. He's with us here on the program, Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. If you have a question for the mayor, this is the time to call in, 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Mayor Marty Small is our guest here on the program. And again, our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. If you have a question for him, 609-407-1450. We really do appreciate the mayor coming on here. I want to ask you, though, how do you like doing a weekly radio show?
Listen, man, I have a blast, man, and I've been doing it for 4 years. It's in the mix with Mayor Marty Senior on Sunday. It comes on 96.1 FM, WPGH The Touch. On Saturdays, and then on Sunday, it's a rebroadcast of that show on 99.3 The Buzz. We have a massive listening audience, and it only increased even more due to iHeartRadio taking over Equity Communications. Gary Fisher, who was the former owner, presented me with that opportunity, and I took the ball and ran with it. We talk about AC politics, of course, entertainment, sports, and more. So we're extremely excited. We highlighted on this morning's show, we're having a 3-point contest, a community 3-point showcase, where you have some former Atlantic City legends, some junior high school kids, some high school kids, and we have 2 celebrity guests. One of them is A.J. Brown, all-pro wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be participating in comedian and social media sensation Bubba Dub, and it all goes down at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. School Complex in the great city of Atlantic City this Wednesday at 6 p.m., and it's going to be a great event. But, yes, I love doing radio. I did a radio show when I was in high school. I went around high school with a camera all day capturing all that was Atlantic City High. I'm a communications major and, communications degree. And I love the media.
Well, I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you came on here. We appreciate it. A few months ago, I attempted to contact DEEM, and that's the program that you've endorsed for the project at Bader Field. They didn't return my calls, and then somebody called and said, well, they'll get back to me, and they never did. Can you explain what is DEEM and what they're going to do with this property?
Listen, it is a massive, ambitious project. It is the most credible project to date for Bader Field. It will be a total, complete game changer, in the words of my guy, Jitney Guy, for the taxpayers in Atlantic City. And, we are still working with them. We got a correspondence late last night from one of the gentlemen from Los Angeles that is expressing optimism that a deal could be signed soon. And I think that we just have to continue, to be patient. This is the most credible offer to date for the city. It will be a direct sale of $100 million. And also they will build a community recreation center on behalf of the taxpayers of Atlantic City. So I'm not giving up, to be honest, and I even told them I'm not as optimistic as I once was, because when you keep hearing the same thing that, hey, we should find out something this week, and that week comes and nothing happens, But at the same time, I'm not giving up because it's too important to Atlantic City. And when that happens, the taxpayers will be changed ever. And speaking of taxpayers, I'll give you a little advance that this Wednesday, Moody's rating agency, they will be in the great city of Atlantic City. They didn't come last year. We had a positive outlook and a upgrade. I believe that minimally, and I said that the last time, that we should receive a 2-tier upgrade, even though we don't have any interest in going to the market as we speak. But I think that my record since I've been mayor of all tax decreases, like I said, I challenge anybody, and not only tax decreases. We should have some good news for our lower paid employees as well. And I just can't wait to let the cat out of the proverbial bag. Wednesday at 10 o'clock, there will be a press conference in the council chambers, and Moody's will be in attendance for that press conference as well.
I want to get back to Deem. You seem like you're optimistic, but you're cautiously optimistic. Do you have any contingency plans if that falls through as to what you'll do with Baderfield?
No. I mean, we would have to put it back out, on the market. And when we put it on the market, we only got fictitious offers. And, this group, a combination of East Coast, West Coast, and, all around the world, they have a unique concept. And I said it from day one. I'm not in love with the, quote, track element there, but people got that wrong. People thought Formula One, IndyCar, Grand Prix, etc. was coming to Atlantic City to have races Saturday. I told everyone this ain't that. This was a track that was for the car enthusiasts that bought the very high end condos and hotel and everything else. So it's an auto enthusiast project. And at the end of the day, like I said, I don't have to be in love with the track portion of it, but I'm in love for the potential that it has for the taxpayers to take the great city of Atlantic City from in the upper echelon of taxes in the county to the lower. So, and that's my goal as mayor, to support projects. Investor confidence is at an all-time high in Atlantic City. You see other projects. We just had a showing of a construction site in the inlet, a $4 million project by Keith Gruff, who has invested in Atlantic City. And catty corner to him, K. Hovnanian, which is a national, developer, is going to develop in Atlantic City and more. So, I'm just being honest, as I always have when I come on here, John.
Oh, I know.
When we talk, I tell you say, hey, Mayor, I'll send you a list of questions. You don't need to do that. You can ask me whatever you want to ask. Your listening audience can ask me whatever they want to ask. I never hide them anything, whether it's popular or not.
Well, I commend you, because I usually give guests questions, and you said, I don't need that. So, well, yeah, absolutely. You showed him. Let's talk about the road diet. I'm a little confused because I hear that the CRDA is now involved in a lawsuit, and then I understand phase 1 is complete, and it seems like there's confusion as to phase 2. Is that in the planning stages? It's not in the planning stages. What is the status on that? Can you kind of clear this up for us?
Listen, there's no confusion on phase 2. Phase 2 is going to happen. The great city of Atlantic City has received $10,349,000 for phase 2, which also includes with that money the synchronization of lights on Pacific Avenue, Arctic Avenue, improved streetscape, and more. You mainly have the people who don't live here complaining about the road diet, and all of a sudden everyone is engineers, and they want to say, oh, well, when the summertime comes, this is going to happen. Listen, the studies show when the lights are synchronized, the traffic flow moves more free. Like I told everyone, I've been living here my whole life. I don't know when the last time that I drove from New Hampshire in Atlantic going regular speed to Pennsylvania in Atlantic without stopping. And if anyone rides down that street at night, you see the brand new decorative street lights that are bright, is brightening up the street. People always want to complain. But what people don't want to talk about is the concern of, it's going to be a gridlock in Midtown Atlantic City. From the start of phase 2, which is Tennessee Avenue, to the other side of the expressway is going to be the same 4 lanes, excuse me, that is there right now. And then it goes back to the single lane. So people don't want to talk about that. At the end of the day, even people who were wholeheartedly against it, including residents, have called me and said, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. People don't like change. And at the end of the day, people want to complain about, there's potholes on Atlantic Avenue. The streets are horrible. So we go out and get $24 million to pave the entire Atlantic Avenue. And people keep talking about traffic counts, but this is a project that's in the name of safety. And as mayor of the great city of Atlantic City, I'm responsible for the health, welfare, and safety of all residents and visitors, and this is what we're doing.
You know, I drive into Atlantic City every week, and I had the same experience. I mean, you stop at one light, then you stop at another. I mean, a 10-minute drive takes 20 minutes. So the lights will all be synchronized eventually?
Yes. Well, phase 1 is already synchronized as we go towards phase 2, which is scheduled to start at the end of the summer season. Look, you're never going to hear me trash CRDA. Am I disappointed that CRDA joined the lawsuit? Absolutely. We've kept CRDA in the loop, the entire time. So we've also talked to the front office, and, we'll see where all of this ends up at. But at the end of the day, this administration has been bullish on infrastructure projects. We not only paved more streets than anyone else, but furthermore, we've, rebuilt 2 bridges in Venice Park and more. So, like I said, bulkheads in Chelsea Heights, Lower Chelsea. We going to do the Ducktown section. So our record clearly speaks for ourselves. We're going to continue serving the people and not spending taxpayers' money.
Well, that's good news. Certainly. Recently, Atlantic City hired 30 new police officers. Are you happy about that?
Yes, I'm very happy. Once again, for people who choose to believe what they want to believe, administration's record of support for public safety is bar none. The police got a great contract. The firefighters got a great contract. There's labor peace. And as you know, just like with sports people, 1 minute somebody's the highest paid in the NFL, and the next contract, the next person is the highest paid, so forth and so on. But we hired 30 officers. We're still, if anyone's interested in being a part of the best police department in the world, we still are looking for 10 more police officers to join the force. And with these 30 officers, the breakdown is as follows. 10 for the first time in the history of the great city of Atlantic City, all 180 days, starting next September, when the kids go back to school, there will be a police officer assigned to that school each and every day. 2 at the Atlantic City High School because of its size, and that's the 10. The next 10 will be assigned to Pacific and Atlantic Avenue. And then when the officers who are working in the school, when the school ends in June, they're going to go on Pacific Avenue for a total of 20 officers on Pacific and Atlantic, as well as the 10 community service aides that we just hired a couple of weeks ago. And then the following 10 will be broken up into groups of 5 motor school cops, and 5 officers for the boardwalk. So we're working. Kudos to my wife, Dr. LaQuetta Small, who agreed to partner with the great city of Atlantic City to make the cops in the schools dream a reality.
Well, that's good. You said there's 10 more. You're going to hire 10 more?
Yes, we need 10 more police officers. That's a part of the 30. So to fill the 10 vacancies that we had, we call it backfilling. So we need to backfill 10 spots.
What about the money for this? Do you have the money for this, or where's the money coming from?
This has come from a federal COPS grant. It's a 3-year commitment. The city and the board is splitting about 26% each, and the grant covers the rest. And we'll deal with it after 3 years, similar to what we did with the fire department with the SAFER grant. And more importantly, speaking of public safety, yesterday we swore in 25 new Atlantic City firefighters. In Mayor Small's commitment, there was a court-mandated minimum of 190 firefighters. Due to our great working relationship with the state, we were able to boost that number to 198.
Oh, that's all good news. I want to talk to you about the pilot. And, you know, they're going back and forth with this thing. They were in court this week. What do you think? What is your stance on this pilot bill? Because it seems like the casinos don't want to pay their fair share of taxes.
Listen, right now, I love the pilot. And my good friend, County Executive Dennis Levinson, he said it. He said Mayor Small should be thrilled because Atlantic City is made whole. Not only made whole, we're guaranteed to increase 2.5% every year. So I've learned not to fight everyone's battles. That's between the county and the state and whomever. But the great city of Atlantic City is in great shape. So you don't really have any problem with this? I don't have a dog in the fight. Yes. That's not my fight. Trust me. I think you and everyone know that's listening. If it was time to fight, I have no problem fighting. Oh, I know that. Anything else you want to talk about? No, I mean, I just, come on here, wanting to talk about whatever you or your listening audience wanted to talk about and, take some questions, some calls if possible. And like I said, the city of Atlantic City is in a much better place than it was the day before I became mayor of Atlantic City. Some people some people don't like that. They don't like the fact that they can't control me, and they don't like the fact that they're not involved. And look, I can't help that. People are always going to say what they want to say, but I know I go around all 6 wards in this city, and universally everyone is saying that we're doing a great job, and we're going to continue to do that. That's my mission as mayor of the great city of Atlantic City, to make us continuously get better. And if you're being honest, we are. We do have some problems, but all the problems we're addressing head on to the best of our ability. Well, I remember before you took office, it was really the situation in Atlantic City was dire. I mean, you had firefighters were being laid off, policemen were being laid off. I mean, Christie took over, and it was a mess. But you've really come around in this in your time as mayor. So I commend you for that. It really is. It's a really welcome turnaround, if you will, to what you and people play politics. People want to say whatever, but at the end of the day, who has accomplished more than me out of any of the elected officials? It's 10 of us, but sometimes people only want to talk about me. And the people that's being critical, they have not offered an alternative plan. They're just Monday morning quarterbacks. A lot of them do absolutely nothing, but, want to change it. So, look, we're going to keep focusing. Like we said in our State of the City Address 2024, ain't no stopping this now. Okay, Mayor, we have a couple people who want to talk to you. Jane is in Galloway. Jane, good morning. You're on with Mayor Marty Small.
Oh, good morning. Hi, Mayor Small. Speaking of dogs in the fight, I really have a problem with the animal care in Atlantic City. I have a rescue organization. It's a 501c3, and I'm in the city 5 days a week taking care of animals, making sure animals are spayed and neutered. And I really feel the city could work with us, rescues, and with the shelters to help these tenants in these buildings take care of their dogs and cats. I found a dead animal in a cage put outside of a house, emaciated, the other day. And, of course, Matt in the police department works with us when we need help. But it's really, people don't understand that this is a responsibility. They're breaking the law, what they're doing here, and there's nothing being done about it.
Mayor?
So, the city doesn't have an enforcement arm to know what people are doing in their individual apartments or how they are treating animals. I'm one that, number one, I'm afraid of dogs. I think the world knows that. But number two, We don't support anyone being cruel to animals. It's just not right. And I encourage people that if they know things to report it to the police. We work with the same animal rescue organization that the city contracts with each and every year. And I have nothing to say as far as from the administration. Listen, we've worked with every organization when it benefited people in Atlantic City. I believe in animal rights. And as I stated to you, if you suspect any foul activity, report it to the enforcement arm, which is the best police department in the world, the Atlantic City Police Department.
I understand that, but is there any way that people can be educated to know that there are programs that they can get maybe free spay or neutering or low cost? Because what's happening is people are gathering animals and they're putting them out in the street, and we rescues are putting all our money into helping these animals when renters should be responsible. There should be something in a rental agreement that says, sure, you can have a pet, but it has to be spayed, neutered, and vaccinated. It's years of this has been going on, and it's a constant troublesome issue that I think could save Atlantic County money, actually, in the end, if they just worked with the county to come up with a program.
I understand. This administration's foundation is built on partnerships. We work with anyone that wants to work to make the Atlantic City better.
Jane, thanks for the call. Lance is in Galloway. Lance, good morning. You're on with Mayor Marty Small.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Honorable Mayor. How are you? Listen, I just want to make sure, in all fairness, if it wasn't maybe 20-some years, almost maybe a couple decades, that Seth Grossman came up to fight for the fiduciary rights and the fairness of the tax dollar and the casino money. He's the guy that was the originator and the drafts person. In fact, he just drafted a letter in regards to the appellate division on March 20th. So he's still doing it. And I think it's, he should get a shout out and a little accolade, because that guy's been given everything he can on his own spare time for to help the taxpayers of Atlantic City to make sure they're all balanced. So that's what I'm saying. If it wasn't for Seth Grossman, there would be no pilot program. You wouldn't have anybody flying the plane or designing the airport. So, and all I can say is, who do you like in your Final Four in the in the bracketology? That's the other question.
Oh man,
So,
I mean,
answer the one about. I'll let you answer. I'm going to get off the air because I'm pulling into shopping something at the Home Depot here. But I do appreciate your time and effort and your dedication. And the only thing is, the big cats are out of the bag in the bracketology. But again, Seth Grossman, he's like the John Hancock, and he fills the pens for everybody to literally have a sense of direction and, without a doubt, trustworthiness when it comes to fiduciary spending in Atlantic City and Atlantic County. So I thank you very much. And
thank you, Lance.
You and yours have a wonderful Easter. You too, John.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. Mayor, did you fill out your bracket? You fill it out yet?
Well, my bracket is in the trash just like everybody else's. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, what's going on, but it happens every year. Normally every year with the 12 versus the 5 seed. That kind of puts things awry, but it's just upset after upset after upset. So I'm not even going to attempt to put it. I'll do a new bracket for the Sweet 16 like everyone else does. But as far as Mr. Grossman, listen, there's been no question Mr. Grossman has been a fighter in this area for a very long time before I even thought about being in politics. As far as the pilot, I wouldn't say that he was fighting for Atlantic City. It was more along the lines of, countywide. Again, my focus and effort is on Atlantic City. Not that I got anything against any other municipality in the county. And as I mentioned earlier, Dennis Levinson said the same thing. If he was in my shoes, he would be supportive as well, because it's great for Atlantic City. So we're going to let the court system bear that out, and we'll take it from there. But We're in a great position in Atlantic City. And speaking of fiduciary responsibility, check my record from 2016 until now. There hasn't been a penny raised on the taxes here in the great city of Atlantic City. They've either been flat or it's been a decrease. So this is the culture that I changed. When I came in as council president, I told them no more change orders. To all those attorneys who used to submit change order after change order, no, your contract is your contract. So with that, the legal spending went down. The great city of Atlantic City has no more legacy cases, and we're in a great financial position, and I can't wait to tell the world on Wednesday.
Okay, Tom and AC. Tom, good morning. You're on with Mayor Marty Small.
Good morning, gentlemen. First, Mayor, I want to say that I think you're doing a pretty good job considering what you have to deal with and all the opposition from sources that if they would give you a little more support, it'd make it a lot more easier. So I just think that you should just keep doing what you're doing. God bless you. And I've been here 40 years on Adriatic Avenue in the 600 block. And there is an animal problem, especially with feral cats. I have about a dozen of them in my backyard that I have fed for years now, and I've had them all spayed and neutered, and have little houses set up with straw to protect them. But it's a lot of people take in cats, and then they just multiply, and then if they leave or they can't afford them anymore because it costs a lot of money, and they just set them out. And the problem is in Atlantic County, you don't have a low cost or free spay and neuter like they have down in Cape May. And a lot of people aren't even aware of that you have to have an animal and take care of it by spay and neuter. It's very important. But, I mean, it's gotten a little out of control throughout this. The lady that called before is Jane. She has a foundation. She's done a lot of work. There's a lot of other people that care for the animals. They don't want to call animal control because then they'll be captured and executed. I just wanted to let you know that there is a problem, and there are a handful of people who are trying to do what they can. I mean, I've spent like over $50,000 the last 9 years in cost, vet cost, cleaning up the mess that other people, they just let them out. And it just, there is a problem there. But I think citywide, you're doing a pretty damn good job. And I pray for you. You're a religious man. I know thy will be done. God's going to help you get this city straightened out because it's already been a big improvement. So I just want to let you know that there is an animal problem, but you're doing a good job. Just keep going, keep, whatever the phrase is, moving on. Just keep going, keep on. Yeah, that's it. Keep keeping on, and God be with you, okay?
All right. All right.
Thank you. Amen. Amen. I appreciate that.
Tom.
Thank you for the kind words, and we're going to continue to look at how we can improve the animal situation here in the great city of Atlantic City.
You're doing a good job, Mayor. I second that. You know, and I appreciate you coming on. You know, you're a busy guy. You're always involved in something or other, but you take my calls and you come on. I mean, that's all I can ask for.
Absolutely.
Which is more than a lot of people do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time this morning. And thank you for coming on, Mayor Marty Small, Mayor of Atlantic City. Keep up the good work, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Talk with the purpose of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We're going to wrap up today's program, 609-407-1450. You want to chime in on anything we're talking about here, 609-407-1450. Final thoughts on today's program after these words.
Easter bread, pies, cakes, and all your holiday goodies. It's all right there at BF Mazzio. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, also has a full catering menu to make your holiday entertaining easier. And of course, don't forget their award-winning gift baskets and fruit baskets. BF Mazzio, where you can shop online at bfmazzio.com. That's bfmazzio.com for the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere, plus gourmet items. there's only one place. BF Mazio, 601 New Road, Northfield.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Did you know trash and recycling collection is the 6th most dangerous job in the United States? The ACUA asks the community to please move over and slow down to get around its collection vehicles. New Jersey's Move Over law requires drivers to move over one lane when approaching emergency or utility vehicles, such as ACUA collection crews. Violations of this law may result in fines up to $500. Distracted driving and speeding can lead to severe or fatal injuries. Slowing down when approaching a collection truck keeps ACUA crews safe. Please move over and slow down to get around.
This is County Executive Denny Levinson. Help protect vulnerable adults. Make the call to report suspected abuse, neglect, or exploitation of residents 18 and older who are lacking in capacity. Atlantic County Adult Protective Services is here for you. APS will help stabilize the situation with respect for the individual and their rights. All referrals are kept confidential. See, stop, report. Call Atlantic County Adult Protective Services, 888-426-9243.
At the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, we are working now more than ever to fill the emptiness caused by hunger. We are the state's largest anti-hunger organization, and together with our 800-plus community partners, we are committed to delivering food, help, and hope to our hundreds of thousands of New Jersey neighbors in need. We couldn't do it without your support. Please go to cfbnj.org to donate today. That's cfbnj.org.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We have a flood watch in effect through Sunday morning. For this afternoon, going to be breezy with rain, heavy at times, high 56. Little rain early this evening, then becoming clear, windy and colder with a low 29. Partly sunny, windy tomorrow, the high 51 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, sunny and breezy with high 55. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, we have a way for you to listen to any of our shows at any time. It is called the podcast. What you do is you Google John DeMasi podcasts and all the shows come up. There's over 200 shows. Imagine if you wanted to listen to 200 shows. I would commend you if you did that, you know? But you Google John DeMasi podcasts and all of the shows come up. Again, I want to thank Mayor Marty Small for coming on the program here. And this is the only show he'll come on this station, so we appreciate that. And anytime we call him, he usually says, sure, anytime you want. So we thank him for that. I wanted to just end the show with another. I love these editorials and these articles in papers because I think they're funny. Because they're written with a perspective that really is blind. Because they don't take into account everything that Biden has done. And this is an article that is touting Biden and the need for him to keep it going. Huh? It says here that during his State of the Union address, an enthusiastic Biden emphasized his record of delivering for American families and the chaos certain to materialize should he lose re-election in November. You know what he was referring to or what they're referring to? emphasize his record of delivering for American families. Let's see, Joe. We've talked today about Afghanistan. Did you deliver for American families there? Huh? How about this one, Joe? Inflation. $1,000 more today for the same goods that it cost 3 years ago when you took office. Is that delivering for American families? How about the chaos that you caused at the border? Oh, we don't say about that. No. So if you read this article and you didn't know anything about what's going on, then this article says Biden used the State of the Union to criticize Republican hypocrisy when it comes to the border. Immigration has become the top issue for many American voters. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and other conservatives wore pins commemorating Laken Riley. That's the nursing student who was killed while jogging and allegedly by an undocumented immigrant. Biden offered condolences to Riley's family. You think he's the one that eventually caused this? It's his border policies that caused this. I'll tell you, even as his fellow Americans, even as the Republicans jeered and heckled, Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, who helped negotiate the border deal, could only nod his head and mouth, that's true. But part of the reason worries about immigration have soared is the this is what this article says, the nonstop drumbeat of fear-mongering about the border from Fox News and other right-wing media outlets. It's not fear-mongering. They're showing, you saw this the other day. They overtook the border agents. There had to be at least 100 of them, and they stormed the gate, and they came through, and one person was arrested. So what is that? I'll tell you, this article keeps saying, here's another. Biden has a track record to be proud of. What? See, again, I say this. If you're the uninformed or the casual voter and you read this stuff, you say, oh, yeah, Biden, he's doing a good job. Jobs are plentiful and the stock market is high. Yeah, that's true. The stock market is high. But you got to make $1,000 more to buy the same goods you bought 3 years ago. So what's that tell you? It's just unbelievable how the liberal media pays no attention to the facts. And the facts are, yeah, maybe the market is up. That's true. But the Inflation Reduction Act, where did that come in? Did that come in somewhere? Because I don't see inflation being reduced. Oh, but we're doing it. We're doing it. It's just more of the same stuff. More of the same. And it just keeps on going. And we'll see. It's a long way between now and November. We've got a lot of months to go, and a lot can happen. But so far, really, the track record that Biden has is, quite frankly, terrible. And I'm sure many will agree with me. And if you don't agree, you can call me next week and complain about it. But that is going to put the wraps on another edition of Talk with a Purpose. We thank Atlantic City Mayor Marty Small for coming on the show and talking to us about the situations that are going on in Atlantic City. And we thank Chris Coleman, our program director and producer, for doing his usual excellent job. And we thank you, our listeners, because without you, as I say, without you, there is no me. Plain and simple. I'm John DeMasi. Thanks for listening. It's Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You have yourself a great week. We will talk to you next Saturday. Talk with a Purpose right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.